The content of this recording is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be legal or therapeutic advice. Help make the School of Custody great by sharing input on important topics that you would like to hear in the future in the comments or by visiting our website at schoolofcustody.com. Hi parents, do you have a child that is getting aggressive with you? Maybe they're hitting, kicking, punching, shoving you, acting totally inappropriate. And maybe they are a child that witnessed domestic violence and you've now left the perpetrator, but the child is acting violent towards their siblings or maybe kids at school. Maybe they're getting disciplined or in trouble at school. This is something we need to act very swiftly on. This is a behavior that therapists would call aligning with the aggressor. It's not in the DSM manual, but therapists would diagnose this under complex traumatic stress syndrome or PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And it's scary because children get aggressive and hostile and violent just as the perpetrator did, because this is what they know, this is their reality, and it's their safe place to stand behind the perpetrator and perpetrate the violence on other people. And they don't even know that they've been played, that they've been manipulated into doing this. And they may be hurting you. And the perpetrator will actually encourage this because the perpetrator wants to get back at you for leaving. So they are going to encourage the child to be aggressive and inappropriate with you. They're being played. And it's a very serious issue. So for instance, where I practice family law in California, there's a rebuttable presumption against joint custody for a perpetrator of domestic violence, meaning they have to prove it's in the child's best interest for them to have joint custody. And unfortunately, because domestic violence is determined in the criminal court and prosecution rates are so low, many of these cases end up in the family court, and perpetrators and victims end up in 50-50 joint custody situations. And this is perfect for the perpetrator because they can use the situation to continue to hurt the victim and to control the child, and they try to take the child away from the victim. So this is a really bad situation. And domestic violence can be found in the family court, but it frequently is not because it's expensive and it's a he said, she said crime. Him has to have the money to hire an attorney and have hearings, and it's a really difficult situation. So if you were thrown into the situation of being a co-parent with a perpetrator of domestic violence, and you go to get help for your child because your child is behaving in a violent way, you're going to have every door shut. And here's why. The perpetrator is not going to allow your child to sign up for programs at school, such as leadership or programs for at-risk kids or healthy relationship programs, because if the child enters this program, they're going to be outed. The child will start figuring out that the perpetrator was in the wrong and it's not a good situation. So they will not consent for the child to do the program. And unless you have legal custody, you are going to have a really difficult time getting your kids in these programs. Now, it's not impossible. Maybe you work really aggressively with a private therapist and the perpetrator has consented to the private therapy and the therapist can get them in a program or the therapist can help them with it. But again, this is not a likely situation. Maybe the school officials can say, Johnny's getting in trouble at middle school and we need him to do this leadership program because he's been violent with other kids. Maybe that would be a way of getting them in. If not, the court can always order something like that. But again, then you have to take your dirty laundry, tell the court that your child is misbehaving and you want them to do this program. So that means expensive trips to court and going after help that your kids need. The alternative is you try to talk the parent into it. they're probably not likely to do that. So if you have a parenting application, you want to document all incidences of them being violent against you, their siblings, or kids at school, and you want to document all your requests to get help in the parenting app, so that if you need that for court, you'll have that available. Now, you can check with a local nonprofit. I used to volunteer for one. They had age-appropriate programs that they offered in the classroom every year for children to teach them about boundaries and ways to behave and healthy relationships for teens and things like that. And this is a really good opportunity because the nonprofits that come into the schools, they're there just to bring awareness to the issues. And there's been a lot of kids in the program that I knew of because of my volunteer work that had moments and said, oh, my family life is not normal. It is not okay what's been going on in my home. All your efforts have failed and you weren't able to get them in programs or get them help through, say, the school or a therapist or a nonprofit because the perpetrator won't consent to it. Then what do? Well, you better figure out what it is that you need to teach them in order to get them to stop. So again, you can get help on how to guide your child to stop behaving like this. One of the worst things that you can do is to punish the child or be extra authoritative that the behavior stop. Like, you hit your brother, go to your room, you're spending the weekend in there, you're grounded, you've lost all your privileges, I'm taking your phone away. Just being really punitive with a child that is acting out like this, you might think, oh, I've got a really bad problem, I need to deal with it right away. But the flip side of that is this child has no control over what they were taught. This is their reality. It's their reality. It's what they know. What they're doing, they think is okay. They think it's okay to treat people like that, to hit them, kick them, punch them. Now, we know it's not, but look at what they witnessed. Look at what their reality is. So it would be far better to say, what was going on for you when you bit your brother? We need this behavior to stop. You know it's not right. And I'm sorry if I ever gave you the message. That's okay. I know and understand. What do you think is a fair consequence for the behavior you've done? And try to get into understanding their emotions, what was going on for them. Maybe they were frustrated. What can you do? Because punishing them and yelling at them for what they did will get used against you. Now, obviously, you think you've got to deal with it, but what happens when the perpetrator turns around and says, well, your mother's just too harsh, she's toxic, she's a terrible parent, is just toxic, and he yells and he's punishing you for doing something, he's way overreacting. It's not a safe and healthy thing. So this is why really important to be even-keeled, talk to the emotions, teach the new behaviors, whether it's boundaries, respect, nonviolence. Do everything you can, read to them, find out what's in the programs that you can't get them in, and teach and learn this together. You don't want to be the toxic parent that is saying, what you're doing is not okay, there's something wrong with you, and you need to go to timeout, or here's your punishment, because this isn't fair. It's what they knew. Fair to punish them for what they were taught. You just both need to relearn a new methodology. Parents, I know this sounds really unfair and really scary, and I'd like to say that by you taking these actions, there'll be a good and positive outcome for your kid. I can't. But I can promise you, if you overreact or are too hostile or angry about the behaviors that they're perpetrating, it's going to backfire. Put comments in the section. I'd love to hear, parents, what you're experiencing. If you're an adult child that went through this, please share your thoughts and ideas and anything that you may have had come up for you in your life experiencing this, so that it can help others. I'd love to interview on this podcast. Leave your contact information in a message and or email me. See the link at theschoolofcustody.com. And thank you and have a great day. At School of Custody, we care about what you need and want to know. Please leave comments in the comments section about anything that you'd like to hear on future episodes. And if you'd like to leave us a message anonymously, you can visit the website for School of Custody at schoolofcustody.com and email us any questions or suggestions for future content. Thank you and have a great day.